Ladies and gentlemen,
let's go.
Episode 10. We made it. 10 of these motherfuckers.
Let's go. We go. Yeah, man.
We rolling now.
Did a good job.
Yeah. Here's to you.
Congrats. Cheers. Let's go. Dry January.
Yep.
Right in my app.
Don't worry. I'll freaking hammer all the beers down for you.
I'm not an absinthe guy. I've never really been. You know,
no reason to.
No, I mean,
that's why
tried.
People fluctuate so, dude, because you go the pendulum swings so hard, then it swings back so hard.
Well, I try the middle way.
Yeah.
You know,
always.
Just try to stay in the middle, and moderation is key. When you feel like you're too far to the other side, just reel it back in.
Yep.
You know?
So today we're going to cover traits of successful people, and obviously us being two dudes, we're probably going to focus mainly on what we think makes men successful, but I think overall the messaging is probably applicable for everybody.
Yeah. And you've done it, right?
Yeah.
So you can qualify yourself, tell people about the businesses. You're pretty, you don't like speaking about yourself too much, but I think we've both been successful either in this life or the past life. And there's traits that you carry through, whether it's sports or business, and they shine through. They really do on a day-to-day basis. So we could touch on that.
Before we jump in, though, let's talk about what was announced today.
Hip hip. Yeah.
Go ahead, fill the people in. So
I saw Lycos Therapeutics, formerly known as MAPS PBC or Public Benefit Corp. It was a wing of MAPS's organization. Announced, what would you call it, a Series B?
Series A.
Series A, $100 million oversubscribed round.
Ooh. It's a check.
100 schmilly.
You see that hit the bank account. That's nice.
It's real nice. Yeah. And I mean, but I think it was episode 8. I touched on when you weren't here on just how much money it takes to commercialize, market, and develop a drug. And it's north of $200 to $300 million. That $100 million.
Marketing, bro. Think about what these companies spend on marketing.
Absolutely.
Drugs.
And so I think that MAPS had a little bit of an advantage because they're like Paxil does so bad as far as the results.
Yeah, it's not a
between
difficult sell.
5% and 9% that it works successfully, and that's probably underreported. MAPS did such a good job of just, drug policy advocacy over the last 30 or 40 years. Rick Doblin, like hats off to you. Started the drug development program, and then now they feel the need to kind of rebrand into Lycos Therapeutics. I think they feel the need to go after the IP, which we talked about. I spoke about in last podcast. It's just needed to be able to raise a check like $100 million, and that is only to commercialize and market, and they're going to probably need more than that $100 million.
They're going to raise another $500 million.
Yeah.
Guaranteed.
Yeah.
Why do you think that they renamed it? I mean, dude, like you think about MAPS and you think about the brand recognition.
Yeah. So I think there was a large power struggle into, so MAPS and Rick's mission was always to bring MDMA to the forefront for PTSD treatment, to develop it into a medicine.
What would also help, maybe a little background for everybody before we even get into this. Let's talk about MAPS and then why, it ended up being MAPS Public Benefit.
Yeah, so MAPS is a nonprofit. It's a 501c3, not-for-profit. So that means that when they raise funds, they deploy funds and they pay people, and you can't show a profit at the end of the year. It's funny, a lot of the hockey organizations that I came up with, they're structured as not-for-profits because they just accept, $20,000, $30,000 a kid and then kind of doll it out. But Rick, in his mission, he wrote his thesis on how to get a drug approved through the FDA. There was a lot of studies from the 40s, 50s, and 60s on how well LSD and MDMA had worked for alcoholics, for alcohol use disorder, and for things like PTSD, anxiety disorders, and depression. There's a lot of research before the war on drugs with Nixon. And so he started MAPS almost 4 decades ago. and started to just slowly, through the advocacy and awareness, put on these kind of group sessions with these individuals and just raise money at a grassroots level. I think he raised over, I wish McKay was here. I think he raised over 150 million as a not-for-profit.
Insane.
Some, don't quote me on the actual number, but a lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot of money. It took him 30 or 40 years. He probably could have went faster. But then they decided that they realized that there was going to be a profit, and no 501c3 had ever, gotten to the finish line with the FDA on developing a drug. So they created what's called a public benefit corp, which was wholly owned by the 501c3. But the public benefit corporation's mandate is to give 30% of the profits back to and invest into communities or the nonprofit wing, or just invest back into the public, 30% of your profits. So once they created that, they were moving forward. Amy Emerson, and there's a lot of individuals on the public benefit corp side that are pharma, that when you're working in advocacy and then you're working in pharma, it's just there's a lot of things that's kind of like a go and a no-go.
And I'm not going to say the person's name just out of respect, but there were some conversations that I had in 2021. And you talk about the timeline that was required, and unfortunately, being a nonprofit maybe didn't attract the top level talent that a for-profit corporation would have been able to spend. On. So that might have also played into the time factor.
And this is a new frontier, right? Like this. What Rick and his team and the Public Benefit Corp, now Lykos Therapeutics, regardless of what's happening there, and a little bit of I wouldn't say it's a power struggle, it was just an evolution of having to evolve out of 501c3, and you're a Public Benefit Corp now, but now you're a pharma, you're a big pharma. You submitted a NDA to the FDA that is most likely going to be approved next year at the end of Q2, Q3, this year. Happy New Year. And so you have to kind of pull up your socks, and so then
the game now.
And so back to the game. What is the game, right? So if I come to you and you ran a fund, Cody, I want you to invest in my company that it has no patents, and but is first to market for MDMA for PTSD. So we get 6.5 years of exclusivity or so with pediatrics.
Murky commercialization path.
Yeah, I just basically show you kind of what we have, and you as an investor would most likely say what about my intellectual property?
You don't have any.
And so would you be, if I did have it, and we explained this a little bit on the other podcast. So if I had a composition of matter patent, which was a novel molecule, which MDMA is not, the reason it's not is because there's prior art to it. So it's been in the literature, so you can't patent it. What you can patent is a novel like extraction process, or how you actually develop the molecule.
Manufacturing.
Yeah, method of use or formulations, the way you put it into a pill, long lasting, short lasting, these types of things are patentable, but the molecule, which is the holy grail, the composition of matter, is not patentable. Right. So they do not have 20 years of exclusivity like a Adderall or like...
We just talked about Otsuka a couple episodes ago. I mean, dude, why do you think Otsuka's buying up all of these patents related to treatment-resistant depression, major depressive disorder? Their 20-year patent expires this year.
Right. So then what people do and companies do, which is smart, they'll deuterate a molecule, or they will tweak a molecule that they know is found in nature just enough to make it novel enough to then file for a composition of matter patent. 20 years you get to be able to, once it's issued, to protect against these other companies coming in. And the reason that people do that, and companies do that, and investors want that, is because they are investing $200 or $300 million into a program that's going to take 5 or 6 years, because these are scheduled substances. They take a little bit longer. And the risk associated with that, they just want to know that if it is successful and they do hit a home run, 1 in 10 of these, 90% of them fail, then they can protect it. And generics can't come in after it's approved and get money. from patients. Like that's the main reason, right? So they'll have this, if they had composition of matter, which they don't. There's also protection now. MAPS has this 6.5-6 year exclusivity because they brought a drug to market that is novel for PTSD treatment. They get this 6.5 year data exclusivity where nobody else can enter into it. But after the 6.5 years, if they're not successful, they can maybe tack on some extraction patents, which I know they're probably trying to do. Then they might be able to get some more protection.
I forgot what administration did this, but the reason why that was developed is there were so many drugs that were developed during World War I, World War II, and all of this prior art. And then towards the 80s, people are like, oh, there's not a lot of things left. So they started taking existing known drugs that were already developed and then repurposing them.
Right. For other indications. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the generic market. Like, so if you go to Walgreens, and you're on, like, say, Propecia, now it's like the hair loss pill that you can take to keep your hair. It doesn't grow the hair back. But now there's like finasteride, which is because Propecia went off patent, people are able to look at the data. They're able to figure out how to make that thing. And then they just generic it up. And there's billion-dollar pharmaceutical companies that are just generics. But that being said, like what MAPS was able to do, what Lykos was able to do, they just now are in a different evolution phase of now they have made a decision that they are big pharma. We have to tailor the narrative based off of the little information that we just gave towards guys like you, or we will have an issue commercializing and marketing this drug, and we will have an issue bringing it to market
and raising money.
And the money is needed to raise the money, is needed to bring it to market. Yeah. The other issue, and listen, I'll fully disclose, like, we are a part of Healing Realty Trust. It's the company that we founded because we saw a glaring issue of, okay, you get this drug approved, regardless of the exclusivity, you have to race because you don't have a composition of matter patent. Where are these drugs going to get delivered? Where?
It's crazy, man.
So now in my mind, and I called you and I'm like, we have to talk to, we've already talked to a few people. We're not under NDA. We have no affiliation officially with MAPS, although we want to support them and we talk about them a lot because this is new territory, curing
tip of the spear.
Yeah, curing 71% of people of PTSD, but there's little to no infrastructure that exists. So if somebody's going to go to a doctor, get a prescription for this, they have to come to a clinic, a brick and mortar. They have to sit with two therapists who are going to prepare them. Over 90 hours of talk therapy, both on the preparation side and the integration. Integration just means they are helping you, integrate the lessons that you saw in the hallucination during the actual treatment and administration of the medicine. That doesn't exist. So what do you think is going to happen here? Who's going to take that on? Obviously, we're taking it on, but I mean, it can't just be us.
Yeah, we're going to need way more than us. I'm hoping that us laying the foundation for this. I talked about that in that last article that I did. Like, I welcome competition. Like, I think it's an important aspect of just the human condition alone, let alone on the business side. So there definitely needs to be somebody else that steps up, but we're the first.
Yeah. It's nice to be first, and it's also like nice to be in the market already, right? Deploying capital, getting buildings under contract and seeing, I guess, the deals that are out there, the cap rates, which are obviously high, which is good for the business, but also the opportunity and these kind of legacy businesses that are coming to us who aren't necessarily just starting up a ketamine clinic or an MDMA clinic. These are legacy type of businesses that are wanting to add this as a tool.
They already have the
as an adjunct therapy. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. All right. Let's switch it. Well, I guess before we even jump into this, why don't you fill the people in on the DEA?
Oh yeah, the DEA, which we already knew, but it's nice to get an affirmation. So somebody must have sent a letter or asked for clarification if spores are illegal.
I think that that company that was doing all that marketing on Facebook for all those spore kits, I think there were some issues that were starting to arise, and I think that they asked for that.
Oh, okay. A lot of people know that we support 3 different avenues of accessing this medicine. So decriminalize nature. I think we both believe that you should have access to your own consciousness, and be able to buy these things that can eventually grow into something that is scheduled, which I'll come back to. We believe in statewide programs like Oregon Measure 109, Prop 122, and we believe in helping, through the FDA and synthetic and the doctors, because those are the 3 avenues that people access medicine, and who are we to say that one is right and one is wrong? Yeah. So starting from there, a spore is a mushroom cap. Like most people have probably seen a mushroom cap with the gills. The gills underneath the mushroom cap are what, basically think of like a cannabis seed. As a male plant, it drops male seeds. You ever had those seeds? You're gone to Jamaica and smoke cannabis and they pop and they give you a headache. Like those are the seeds that
Jamaica, dude, when you're a kid.
Yeah, no doubt. Not anymore. But anyway, those are the seeds that that basically you could plant into another pot and it'll grow you another cannabis. So think of spores as the mushroom seeds, and they once a mushroom gets to a certain size, there's something called a veil underneath the cap. That cap will open up, the veil will drop, and then under the gills are all the spores or seeds. That's why when you go into nature, you'll see clusters of mushrooms that are the same type of mushrooms, because the wind will blow them and keep them in the same area.
On Paul Stamets' Instagram, he has a great visualization. I don't know how they recorded it, but you can actually see all the spores falling off.
So you know what we'll do? I have that same one, and we'll post this to Instagram and show people, kind of cut to it and show people what that looks like. So these spores basically germinate new life, or the same type of mushrooms. It's the same genetic of that mushroom that's dropping it. So if you take a cubensis or psilocybin cubensis mushroom, what makes it illegal is that once it grows to a certain
fruiting body.
Yeah, the fruiting body that comes out of nature, that becomes illegal once it's grown to a certain maturity.
So wild, dude.
And once it's dried. So the only time in the process of growing a mushroom, back to the DEA ruling, the spores or the seeds, because they do not contain psilocybin or psilocin, those are the 2 scheduled things that these mushrooms grow. Once they get to the fruiting body part of their life, that's what's illegal. But the starting material, these seeds, all of the substrate, which is like the earth, that it's a mixture of gypsum, cocoa core, depending on who you talk to. None of that's illegal. None of the actual things that you would, because it doesn't contain psilocybin or psilocin, but the end product, once that mushroom does fruit and psilocin or psilocybin can be detected, then the DEAs can come after you.
It's fascinating.
Well, it's a big win for
Yeah.
Because there's millions of people that don't care about growing, but it's a huge win for it's a I would guess hundreds of millions of dollars, that industry, dude. like monotubs, filters, substrate, bags, grain, unsterilized, sterilized grain.
Yeah.
There is so much going on. Yeah, it's a huge market. So big win for anybody selling, spores or genetics of mushrooms.
All right, let's kick into the actual theme of the episode. So you and I talk a lot about mind, body, and spirit. I think that's how we break these things down. Body, I think, is the most important because it's the foundation for the other 2. What do you think are the most important physical traits for somebody to attain in order to maintain not financial success, but just personal success and how you're living the right way? What do you think?
Okay. So I can only speak from my experience.
Yes, we all can.
And like, if I don't sweat or work out if I miss, like, I'll take a rest day here and there because I think the body and the mind needs it. But if I just do not feel the same way. Now, I say this because I'm a little biased because I just always was attracted to sports, and I've been playing hockey since I was 4 and like soccer in the summers, etc. But man, if I don't get a sweat, if I don't go in a sauna, if I don't get on a steam room, if I don't do something proactive that and usually it's has to be in the morning, then my whole day I do not feel like I am fully present in the moment. And then I know that I'm missing things. And I feel anxious, and you could call it, I don't like using the indication words, but you can call it I like calling it like malaise, just a little slowed down, maybe a little depressed, but
just sharp.
Yeah, just not fully there. I'm not at 100%. But if I just go out and run for 1.5 miles, which takes 12 minutes for me, and it could take other people 20 or even 30, even if you want to walk it, doesn't matter. If I just move, we say exercise. I don't even like saying that because it's intimidating for life. Like, you just get to movement. Then you're breathing, you're present. For me, then I'm in like a really good spot, a really good spot. And if I don't do that, like, I don't know why, but this is like coming out of New Year's and I'm still kind of in it. Like, I've got another family who I love. I love Andy and Katie. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's just like this nonstop kind of,
your routine gets broken.
Yeah, I'm out of it. And my kids are still home. I got 4 kids and I'm trying to, so like, I cannot wait until Tuesday where I know that, by 7, I want to get back into my routine that I had going there. Yeah, it was only for 6 or 7 days, but I was up at 6 a.m. Yeah, man, it was great. And that's on me. Of course. You know what I mean? So anyway, if I'm not exercising or moving, if I'm not sweating, if I don't do something to make my body feel stronger, I feel like that my mental state is directly correlated to how strong my body feels. Whether that's because I grew up in hockey or it does not matter to me. This body that feels connected, and this is why I really like dig running now, because it's not just the bike. It's like your whole body has to move as one. That's it. If I'm not doing that, my day I don't feel like I'm at my fullest, and I want to be operating at my fullest every single day. So what about you?
Yeah. I mean, listen, obviously very similar to I've played sports or been outside my whole life. I'm very lucky that I have an outside type of family, whether it's hunting, fishing, camping, hiking, that has seemed to be a reoccurring theme among the Chandras.
I think that's an important distinction because me and you always talk about it. Nature, like, so exercising is one thing, like in the gym and the treadmill. I've been running outside.
Have to.
Yeah, right.
Dude, so much time, like even kids now, like you see that natural, and listen, this is obviously parents, this is us.
Yeah.
They see us looking at a screen, like our phone. And obviously you and I fucking work off of our phones, but like they see that and like, you have to wonder, what is that creating where they don't want to be outside and they want to be in? Like, dude, think about when you were a kid, you couldn't wait to get off of school, drop your shit and see you later. I'm going outside with my friends.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't.
Everyone's doing it inside, man. I've got my 3 kids, and it seems like every 2 minutes, I'm like, please put the phones down, go outside. This is a big reason why we moved to Florida because it's easy.
You can do it every day, all year long.
Every day. Wolfie's good at it. It's just my girls got but
girls
they're also
are different, bro.
Very different. Yeah. And they're also, it's not like we can just open up the door and
see you later.
Let them rip.
Yeah.
So, but they're pretty good. We have like a green space, but I think nature is important.
And, a couple of years ago, I was at the shooting range and Mike, the manager, we were talking, I think I just left jujitsu and I went there and I was fucking gross. And he's like, why did you start doing jujitsu? And I was like, well, I've always like boxing, wrestling. And he's like, that's interesting. He's like, I look at it almost like a safety aspect. And I was like, yeah, that makes sense. And the conversation started going down about like physical fitness levels. And how many people do you know today that could pick up their wife or pick up their kids in an emergency and would be able to run or walk them a distance? Maybe 1%.
Yeah.
That really resonated. I was like, fuck, dude. I was like, I didn't really like, you know, I didn't think of it. And then days later, I was on Twitter and I was scrolling through, and it was, I think, during Hurricane Katrina, and it was a National Guard member carrying a lady, and it was the husband walking behind, and it said, do you want to be the husband that has to have another man carry his wife? I was like, what the fuck, dude? So I stay with that now, you know, and like you and I were talking about just, I think a couple of weeks ago, you notice like just once a day, you post a 30-second clip of you running, then you can start seeing some of your friends post like,
oh yeah,
it's that shit's contagious.
Oh
dude.
man, I've never, so even last year, I don't think, and I'm hard on myself, but I don't think I'm doing enough for men, like to show men how to be a man, you know, to show people, young men especially, the suicide rates are absurd.
Obesity, suicide.
And shame on me. It's something simple like, okay, man, you know that you run every day. I run the same route every day. You know, you can invite people there. I usually go to the bike trail. Now it's like once or twice a week. I can tell people that I'm going at this time. Do you want to come there? Yeah. And you don't have to bike the whole trail. There's ways to kind of cut off. I could be doing more, you know.
We all could.
Yeah. And I really want to do something like that. And I'm going to. But first and foremost, like you just have to, you got to have your stuff together, you know. Yeah. If I'm not working out, then my mind doesn't feel strong. And then spiritually, all of a sudden, the negative talks come in. I'm shaming myself. I feel guilty because I didn't do the thing. But like when you get up at that mark, when you set a clock and make a contract with yourself, and then
feel better, dude.
Oh, dude, and then you do it, and then you get back, and all it takes is like sometimes it's 40 minutes.
Yep.
And then, you know, I usually use the cold tub, and then I'm up, I eat, and then, I mean, man, it's like, that's already an amazing day.
Yeah.
You know,
you just started.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's funny you talk about wanting to show other people, but you have to do it. Is there anything worse than a fucking teacher that's trying to teach you something they've never done?
No. And like,
like I think about business, dude, I'll never forget. I went to FAU once and I was listening to this business teacher talk about business. And, you know, I asked him after the class, I was like, you know, what did you do before you started teaching? He's like, oh no, you know, I graduated and moved right into teaching. I'm like, so you're teaching business to kids and you've never owned or operated a business? The fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, I think unfortunately there's a lot of that. But
like the health and wellness, like you can't teach someone how to be healthy and well if you're not healthy and well.
Yeah. Some people can. They can just get by it, but yeah, it's tough. So in hockey, I was always attracted to people by leading by example. Like I was a captain of a few teams like growing up, but I never like was like the come on guys. No, it's like, man, if I look at you or I get looked at,
it's like talking about the running thing, dude. Like,
yeah, man.
You're not telling people to go do it. Like you're showing people this is what I'm doing.
Exactly. And this is the life that I'm living. Yeah. And I have a great life, but like, man, I'll tell you, like the last 4 days when I wasn't doing these things, or 3 days, I noticed, and it's only been 3 days, man, I'm like, it's tough. Yeah. It's really tough. And you know,
you and I, because this is one of the things I want to talk about. You and I have a relationship that I think we both relate to because the accountability, like I know you always call me on my shit.
Yeah.
And I always call you on your shit.
For sure.
And that's something fucking that I respect.
Oh, men need that.
Yeah. And I don't think there's enough of that. That's one of the things. Like, dude, so accountability is one of the things I want to talk about. Like, I don't care if it's accountability to your friends, accountability to your family, accountability to your wife, your kids. Like, that is something that I think is really, we've moved away from the shame culture almost. Like, yeah. You know, my brother just got back from Japan and he was like, dude, it's fucking wild there. It was like, you can see like if somebody spits on the sidewalk or someone doesn't clean up their fucking trash, like, dude, their community will shame them. And like, we don't have like, dude, like that's gone. It's a safe space for everybody now. Like there's no fucking shame left.
I think it goes back also to what we were talking about, that everybody's an expert, like almost like an armchair expert. And that's why, like, you know, when I talk about like qualifying myself, I always try to qualify myself so that people know when I'm talking about this stuff,
because
they get it. Yeah. And I don't think it's a very weird thing, because I think, so if you're authentically like really wanting to change your life, you know, when you see a video of somebody doing it,
you can feel it,
dude, you're like, that guy.
I'm in.
Like, I'm attracted to that guy. Most people are like 1 foot in and 1 foot out, you know, where it's because like the stuff that we're talking about is really hard to do.
Fuck yeah,
dude. Even when we talk about like psychedelic assisted therapy, when you talk about taking MDMA for PTSD, most of these trial participants are vets, and they are taking this thing because they want to be shown. They want to put a mirror right in front of their face, and they're like, hey man, this is the trauma that's governing your life. You have to look at it, relive it, accept it, move past it. And then if you can do that and see it and then talk it through with 2 therapists, you can do that. It'll never, ever govern your life again. It doesn't disappear. I'll be like, I'm a, abuse survivor. But what it does is, like, when you talk about it again, it's like a sip of milk, and it actually gives you like a power of, I've conquered that. This happened to me. I've conquered it. Now I want to go do it for others. So, it's an interesting thing to like, cause I look at it too, and I'm like, I'm not where I want to be right now. I don't have, in my mind, there's like this little voice, well, I don't have these followers. But I did the thing. Like, I won 2 world championships. I did that. And I honestly just think that I'm just not ready for it, but there's hundreds of people that are kind of like, hey, you got to do some workshop. You got to do this. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm getting there. I'm close. I know I'm close to something. And it just feeds into, again, like a lot of things that I say when you say accountability, I say things publicly to hold myself accountable.
You have to,
because, and people look at me, they look at you, they're like, man, you guys are so strong. You got it together. And I'm like, dude, sometimes I feel like the weakest man in the room. Nope. Because I'm not, but that's only because I'm shaming and guilting myself because I know I'm not doing the things that I'm supposed to do.
And listen, that should be a strong motivating and driving factor.
Absolutely. A lot
of people don't have that anymore.
And I have that internal voice. It was built into me from hockey, right?
That's like the shame thing I was talking
absolutely.
about.
And I shame myself. Yeah. Now, there's a level of that's good to a point, because I've seen... Then I read these philosophers and these, like, I read Bruce Lee's like, man, never call yourself a loser. Never talk down to yourself, because that you've seen like Joe Dispenza and what he does with the way that we talk to ourselves secretes certain chemicals, like those studies with the rice or the water, right? You talk positively to it, it freezes. Like in these beautiful crystallizations. You call this one a loser, and it looks just terrible, fractured, and then you just leave this one alone. Don't say anything to that one. And it, again, not right. So the stories that we tell ourselves, but I'm so used to, like, I
have to have
I know. It's still like, built into me.
Dude, Lauren was so rattled when we were first started dating. She's like, maybe we were playing basketball or something. She's like, did you just call yourself an asshole? I was like, yeah, I missed that shot. She's like, why would you say that? I'm like, because just to drive myself to do better and make the next one.
Yeah. I'm still, man, and I'll be honest, I don't know if I'll ever figure this out, but I'm close to figuring this out. I don't know if that's the right thing to do.
Might not be,
but that's I was also
works for me.
But I
think it's different for everybody.
Yeah. And I think I also go back to, like, it's yin and yang. There's good, there's bad, there's sun, there's night, there's day, there's night, there's I know. Okay. So I go back to my own personal experience. When I was 19 to 25, okay, when I was running hard and I was using anger and frustration and I was beating the wheels off of everybody in the NHL. I was like, you would not want to come across me. You would not want to fight me. You wouldn't, like, guys were like respected me because we would go out off the ice and like fucking, I want to be on this guy's team because if I'm not
on and off. Yeah.
So, but I was also, that was a time where I also got injured, man. My PCL got blown out, ACL reconstructive surgery, tore my left labrum. 5 of my 7 concussions were in that time period. Like I was also breaking down. And then at 25 to 30, I went to the Stanley Cup Finals 4 times with 3 different teams. But at 25, is when I had 2 surgeries back to back in Philadelphia. And they prescribed 30 milligram pure hydrocodone. And, after my surgery, I was like, well, what is this? And I had, and I had all this abuse stuff too. Yeah. And so quickly I got addicted to them. And within 3 months I was in rehab. And in rehab, I learned that from 19 to 25, like this guy that was running was because of a little bit from the way I grew up and then also from this trauma that happened at 17 when I was getting drafted. And I was like, all right, yeah, I could see that. And so then I started to like just talk about that thing and then I left it behind. And I was like, okay, I don't need the pills anymore. Yeah. But it changed me from 25 to 30. I was like, dude, I don't really want to like beat people up anymore. I know I have to do it. I'll protect people, but I don't even know how to be that person that I just was for 6 years. Like so I started to leave a little bit of it. And then, dude, I was so fucking successful and I wasn't getting hurt. So I'm still, and now I'm 39. Dude, I'm reading and I'm like playing with this thing of, I still know that you need that bite. I don't know if it's I think it's the anger.
It's not everything. Yeah.
Yeah. But
I think it's peace.
Yeah. But like, then you can't just wake up and be, like la-di-da, because we're in business, like it's cutthroat, you know?
Listen, I heard a great explanation. It's like driving a stick shift. Obviously a bunch of young kids can't drive these.
No doubt. That's a manual car where you have 5, you have 5 gears in this vehicle. The first one you start in at a red light, and when it turns green, eventually, and you let off the clutch. It also has 3 pedals, and it usually has an e-brake.
So how this was explained is you got to think about it like shifting through gears. Like you want to get to a place, right? There's times where the throttle goes up and you get to that red line where you're running fucking hard, then you shift gears. And now it's low RPM.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. I've never heard this.
Yeah.
Where'd you hear that? Do you remember?
I don't.
It's a great fucking analogy.
I know. So like, it's just finding that while you're shifting through gears, the low, and then fucking when it's time to red line and go hard and fucking push it. That was something that like I always took with me, and I was like, damn, that's a fucking super good analogy.
Maybe that's why I don't like the holidays. Maybe that's
just red line.
Well, it's because it's like, no, it's everybody getting together for a time, but everyone's boozing. And like, everybody's like just, and I'm just like, so are we getting together because we like the misery of it? Or are we, so I don't know. It just struck me. I'm just like, man, well, maybe. And I've never, when I like always used to go home for holidays, we had 2 days off for Christmas. We had literally 48 hours, just like land in Canada, bang it. And so, yeah, I don't know. I really don't like, I like my routine. I don't like, and then I don't, for some reason,
of habit.
Yeah, but for some reason, I don't like going out or like breaking that for too many things or for too many people. Like at the end of this month, I know we have to go to like a wedding, and I'm just like, I'm going to get into this 14-day bang, bang, bang. But it's also on me. It's on me to find, when I went to Chicago in the summer,
you kept your routine.
I kept it this year. Yeah, I kept it this year. So it's on me. It makes it a little harder. So I guess looking at, the bright side of things rather than dwelling on, well, I'm in Chicago, et cetera. is the way to go. I don't know, so accountability, it's important to yourself, to others. I don't know how individuals keep it. I kind of like, if I say I'm going to do something, then I kind of have to do it,
So we shift a little bit to mind and how important that is. What do I posted that list the other day and I had some interesting comments, some of the things that I think are very important: ambition, adaptability. I think so many people get so comfortable in their groove that as soon as something shifts, they can't adapt to it.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important part.
That could be what I just brought up. Absolutely.
Yep. Capability. Are you able to achieve things? And do you have that goal? Dependability. Being able to depend on somebody, family, friends, things like that. Friendship, which is, we talked about this, I think, on episode 3. These phones have unfortunately changed the nature of relationships, friendships, love, everything, business. I wonder how over the next, I was reading an article, I'm not finished with it, I'll post it on my Instagram. It was something from the World Health Organization. They said that they feel like terrorist events are going to rise because of their rise in isolationism.
Huh. Yeah. That's an interesting one, because I'm really comfortable being alone.
I am too.
But also, like, when I'm around other people, I've seen you, it makes me feel so good.
I'm
so
the same,
like,
dude, fucking, someone that we're very close with is like, dude, you fucking go into like hermit mode. During the holiday. I'm like, dude, I lock it down. I like
it's that pendulum swing that we were talking about before.
And dude, my mom talks about this all the time, bro. When I was a kid, I would leave the house at 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, take my fishing pole and my pocket knife, and I would be fucking gone, dude.
Yeah.
All day.
Yeah.
And she was like, is it not weird, being by yourself? I'm like, dude, that's my favorite time.
It's the best time. Yeah. And and then also too, it goes back to these philosophers that I read. They're like, man, if you really want to know, if you really want to get connected again to what this all means, go in the forest
by yourself
for hours. It doesn't need to be days, and just sit and listen.
Oh.
You mentioned a lot of things in there.
Oh, dude, I still have so many more, dude.
I think so. One thing I do want to touch on is purpose. I've seen a lot of men, and I've struggled. The worst that I've struggled is when I was lost, when I did not have a purpose. And I think as human beings, we
need that.
Yeah, and we see. This is how we can drive. And I see something, and I'm going to go towards it. I'm going to do the things that I need to do. I'm going to either create a team or find something that helps me accomplish where I want to go. And just working towards that every single day, I think, is really important. And then to the point that you just made, doing it alone is great. Starting something alone is awesome.
Or even having alone time.
But making sure that you're doing something with a team, I don't see how there's any way around that, because if you trust an individual, like I trust you, you have to play off each other, and you call me on my stuff and I call you on your stuff, but we also know that there's support there, because doing it alone for a really long time, you start to
misery, dude.
Yeah. And you start to question,
what am I doing? What's the purpose of this?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I want to expand on that when we finish this list, because I think that moves into spirit, that purpose.
Okay.
So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah. It makes you, if you're, if you're waking up feeling lost, anxious, depressed, most people, I've seen this, this isn't me saying this, anxiety lives in the future. You're thinking about the things that you're creating scenarios in your own mind, and then depression lives usually in the past. Because
my sister Brianna, dude, we were just having this conversation yesterday. Shout out UB.
Yeah.
She just sent me a picture out of her book, dude, this morning. See if I can pull it up.
Pull it
real
up.
quick.
Yeah, and depression is I think depression is mostly about like shame and guilt about the things that we were talking about, right? If you say before you go to bed, well, I'm going to wake up at 6, and you don't do that thing, I feel, depressed.
This is the page of the book that you sent. For example, let's look at the natural state of a baby. What is a baby's natural and default state, assuming the baby wasn't abused, neglected, or had any physical issues? Are babies naturally stressed, anxious, fearful, and self-conscious, or are they naturally in a state of bliss, happiness, and love?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're sponges. They're going to emulate
what's around them.
Yeah,
We're
environment.
all products of our environment.
No doubt. Yeah. No, it's a great quote. But when you like the coming of age, when you get to be a man and you
not a lot of those rituals left, unfortunately.
Man. And just to have an ability. So I've gotten a lot of comments, right, of over the last like however many years that I've been retired, where people are like, wow, like, like I fucking looked up to you. You were a tough guy, but you're talking about how you feel. And I'm like, man, I'm just talking about how I feel. If I don't do those things, I don't really feel like I have purpose because I see so many people suffering. And I have a key. I have a technology that I know. I know, and now there's many of these technologies that have been deemed illegal that can help you or any individual or a loved one, and you can snap you out of this haze or this phase. Or if you need to reorient your life, you can use these medicines to help you repurpose yourself. That's it. And stop it. We don't need to talk about the legality. No. And that's what it can do. That's what these things can do in the right community. Then if somebody is transformed, what you need to do is you need to go grab one of your buddies and you need to show him the way too, and that's all we're doing.
Wiz talks about that, like the vampire thing, right? Like you get bit, then you bite someone else. And then
absolutely. And these are on the principles of AA. Yeah. Like this is what Bill W. after an LSD experience wrote, right?
High dose.
The last step is give away what you've been freely given. And some of us, this isn't free, but you need to give it away to keep what we have. Yeah, absolutely.
So let's finish this. So helpfulness. How many people do you know that go out of their way? One of the things I take a lot of pride in is I pull over on the road if I see someone with a blown out tire. I almost always pull over to stop and help that person.
Like that.
Could be having the worst day of their life, and that's such a simple thing that takes 15 minutes out of your day. That's going to go so far. I think that's another important.
Hopefully not on 95 because you got two young kids.
I have stopped on 95 a couple times.
All right.
Because, dude, I mean, like, for example, Lauren and I were going to shoot pool a couple of years ago, and there was like a 90-year-old couple that had a flat tire on the side of the road. Like, dude, they would have been stuck there.
No, yeah, they would have been.
You know what I mean? So you just never know who's behind that wheel. So I think those little acts of helpfulness that goes a long way. Just, again, it's a vampire thing. You help that person's probably going to see that act of kindness and go help somebody else.
For sure.
Afterward. Yeah. This is something that you and I have had multiple conversations over the last couple of years. Humbleness.
Oh, yeah.
I think most people that have listened to us talk, I've grown up in some very humble beginnings.
Yeah.
There's been periods of my life where I have really struggled with humility. And I feel like it's a keeping up with the Joneses, the shoes, cars, houses, clothes, brands, things like that. That's something that I actively struggle with. I think I've gotten a very good handle on it the last couple of years. But like I really struggled with that. And I wonder how much of that is influence on the group of people you hang out with, social media, things like that. I mean, it's tough to say, but
I feel like that, and I've gotten lost on that path too. That's just getting lost a little bit. It's all that is, and brands are going to become more rich, and they're going to because it's easy to find happiness in buying the Gucci thing. Because it's just a status symbol to say that, well, I made it.
Yeah.
And so if you can try to, well, I mean, I couldn't avoid it. I did those things. I had a Hummer and 24-inch rims that I brought back to King City. And I still remember to this day, there was a guy, Jeff O'Neill, who we were at a men's league skate, and he pulled out. He'd been in the league 12, 13 years. He's like, it's the NHL, not the NBA. It's like, that's fucking touche. Great. So like,
that's so good.
And I've had everything, right? I've had watches, all this, and then I sold everything. And
it's so funny how that changes. Like, and I also got to experience a good bit of that at a very young age. And I was very thankful that influenced like a lot of, my future success and being able to draw that back in to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Where you see people that make it a little bit later where now their possessions define who they think they are.
Yeah, no, I've never, I don't do that. I haven't done that for a very long time.
Like, bro, you and I are fucking I forgot who we were with. They're like, why the fuck? Like, you guys are wearing Converse here. Like, yeah, dude, like, I don't.
Yeah, my wife hates that part of me where it's like, I would rather look, and I don't like try to actively look, she calls me like homeless. And I'm just like casual. Yeah. I don't like, I've wore suits. I did that whole thing. So in this part of my life, definitely would, I'm definitely not playing the part to look a certain way. And I feel like those brands and those types of things, like she gets mad at me because I don't shop for clothes. I'm like, dude, I have everything. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. And they're nice things.
I have t-shirts that are fucking 15 years old, bro.
There you go.
Yeah.
Same. Rock band tees.
Yeah. The last two are really important. Loyalty.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I think is everything.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think a lot of that has been lost. I mean, you think about your parents or your grandparents, they were loyal to their family. They were loyal to their friends. They were loyal to their job. Like, a lot of that has unfortunately been, I guess, eroding slowly around us. And I wonder you look at the difference in just 2 generations. I wonder what that's going to look like in 2 more.
Yeah.
You and I know a loyalty issue between very close friends and business partners that just, eroded in front of our eyes in a very recently.
Yeah. And I think it all goes back to, how you treat individuals and how far an individual can be pushed before they break, so if you corner somebody who has their own family, so many times, eventually they're going to, they would be insane to choose you over their family. So you force them to make a decision, and that individual made a decision. Not that to be said, that individual should still hold himself accountable. Or hopefully if these other people in the organization that he's still in, hopefully they will hold himself accountable. But that's an interesting one. And just, do no harm. It sounds like a very simple thing, but if you love and respect somebody,
you don't do that. Yeah.
Don't fuck them over, or also too, like me and you have a good relationship and we've known each other almost 5-6 years. Like, that I know in my heart, if I ever did something like that to you, you would never talk to me again. If you ever did something like that to me.
You and I are very similar in that aspect.
And we've never even said it before, but now
it's just a known
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I have just dude, I'm one of those fucking psychopaths. I will literally cut someone out of my life that I've known for my whole entire life and never talk to them ever again.
Absolutely. See, and I'm the psychopath that, like, sometimes to my own detriment will want to see the individual who thinks that they got off scot-free. I'm going to find a way to make you suffer. And there's still, like the other things that I'm still trying to figure out, I'm a human and I'm evolving, but there's still a very large piece of me in that situation that still wants to, still wants to do something to them.
The last one, patience.
Oh yeah.
I am notoriously known for having no fucking patience.
Just a little patience.
And do you want to know what has been the biggest help with that?
What?
Kids.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Fuck, dude, that has just completely changed.
Well, I could see where like the ADHD diagnosis came from, where these kids are like every 2 to 10 seconds, they have another thought, just go and have a kid and hold them and,
You'll hold 5 different people in 5 minutes.
Well, this doesn't look normal. And that's how we all started.
Yeah.
Like no help. I know there's no medication or anything like that in your house, and you guys eat clean. And so dude, kids are a great teacher, man.
I got yelled at over Christmas, bro, because I didn't have fucking Tylenol or aspirin in my house.
Oh, really?
I had to go into my med kit that I have to get a package of aspirin.
It's a good sign.
Yeah, we just don't. I mean, I'm a fucking supplement freak, but I don't know.
Yeah. Let the food do the talking.
Yeah, dude. Food and exercise is fucking pretty much everything you need.
Yeah. I mean, listen, we don't talk about this often enough. Our young families, maybe it's probably because we're in the trenches with the business thing. And then also, to be quite honest, I'm still trying to figure myself out. I don't know how, that doesn't really take a back seat to my family, because if I don't have my stuff together, man, I'm going to lose everything, So I'm always very selfish with that. And I implore people, that anybody listening to this podcast, you have to be fucking selfish. If you're not, you're going to lose everything. If I go back to opiates, if I do the things that I know I'm supposed to do on a daily basis and I avoid them, I'm going to lose everything. So it always starts with me. But my kids are they're frustrating, extremely frustrating at times. But they're amazing, because what they do is they soak up everything that you are, all of the good and the bad things, and then they show it to you right in your fucking face. Yep. Every day, every single day. And the parts that you yell at them for, that's the shit that you don't like about yourself.
Yeah, all day long.
What the fuck is going on? So all day long.
The reason why I made that last is because we talked about mind, we talked about body, now spirit.
Yeah.
I grew up Catholic.
Okay.
My family isn't super religious anymore, obviously, is kind of...
Well, do you want to talk about spirit, or do you want to talk about religion? Or do you think these two...
So I think
religion plays into the spirit, faith.
I think that these are the exact same thing.
Okay.
I found that before, when we were going to church and things like that when I was a kid, that was kind of the principal base. And that was, you wanted to please God or whatever.
Yeah.
Now I found that spirit and that purpose that we were talking about, that's my family, right? I want to do well for them. Mm-hmm. I want my, wife to be attracted to me. I want her to respect me. I want her, all of those things. I want my kids to look at me and say, oh, I want to be like dad. I want my daughter to find a husband like me. I want to set that example. Yeah. I want my son to be a father, a husband, a friend, a business partner like I am. So that has now kind of replaced, I think, a lot of the religious aspect, in my life, at least.
So, and I've been playing with this and obviously reading, and I think that in each one of us, we are a form of the higher power, whoever put us here. So we want to call it God, call it Allah.
The first time you and I took a decent dose, that's the path you took me down. Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason I know this to be true is because you can give life, and your wife
and you could take life.
Can give life. Yeah. And you could take it too, but essentially you can give it, right? So you can, in the right circumstances, some people can have kids. Some people struggle to have kids. In the right environment, with the right love, if you're doing the things on this list or living your life in accordance with how the universe wants you to be, which is do no harm. If you have to step up, you step up. But for the most part, if you're on this path of light and you're fading off the darkness by exercising, by eating well, by doing these things, then you're going to get rewarded, And so I think of spirituality as I could probably clinically go insane by trying to figure out how we got here and where we go, if I really let myself go. Because the reason that question fascinates me is because I also think that we die every day. Meaning people are so scared of psychedelics, right? Why are they scared? They're scared to surrender to the unknown. We go to bed every night, closing our eyes, not knowing if we're going to wake up.
Yeah.
Not knowing, like, dude, that's like usually sometimes my last thought.
You know, 90% of people I talk to that are scared about psychedelics, like, what if it changes the person I am? Like, yeah, that's the fucking point.
Yeah. Well, but we go to bed not knowing where we go. We go to some dreamland and then we wake up again, like to just start another day.
Yeah.
And then some people go to bed and they never wake up again. Well, you know, what fascinates me is like, well, how did we wake up having never gone to bed? And can this thing continue to happen? Or is this one life? You know, do you get one life and what do you do with it? And this is the first time I've ever, you know, said this publicly. I think for me, I'm hoping that I come back in my own family circle. So like, I look exactly like my dad. My dad looked exactly like his dad. All these, I'm sure Mav looks similar to you. And I'm like, maybe there's like something there. And if this doesn't happen, I'm okay with just living this one life, you know? But these are the questions that I continually ask myself because I think it's fascinating. And the reason that I ask myself these questions is because I've survived so much stuff, trauma, call it whatever, a tumultuous. I feel like I've lived 3 lives already. If I don't question how I got here, then I feel like I'm going to not live this life to my fullest. You know, because that question can never really be answered. And I think we're on the right path, man. I really do. I think I got sidetracked a little bit, but that's how we met.
Yep.
And when I say sidetracked, I take that back. I think I had to endure a little valley before the peak, which I think this year I think we're close. I think I'm close, you know.
One of our favorite bands, though the course may change sometimes, rivers always reach the sea.
No doubt. Yeah, Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Sick. Yeah, but I mean, these are also things that I feel like we have to talk about a little bit more to let people, because I also know that people think about these things, other people think about these things all the time, and they're just scared to kind of voice it, you know? And if we don't find a responsible way to live your life, right, then I would hate to see people or individuals just kind of go through as like, well, it's another fucking day.
Yeah.
Because then you miss.
What a miserable experience that must be.
Well, you just miss everything. Yeah. You miss everything. And I think that's why we're here, man. I think like there's a big reason why we met, and we have to wake people up to both like the dangers of the things that we do and then the amazing things that can be, right? Yeah. If you're willing to be disciplined, and if you're willing to take control of the things that you can control, and then also let bygones be bygones. And also, if you're taking care of, let's end on like this, if you're doing the things that you know you need to do on a daily basis, I guarantee you good things are going to happen. And if you don't, I'm not saying that bad things are going to happen, but it'll take a little bit longer for the good things to happen. Yeah. That's where I felt like I was in the last like 3 days, where it's like, but you're not doing the things that you're supposed to be doing. Yep. Right. So like start doing those things that you know to be true. And today, in this conversations like this, calling a friend helps bring people out of those moments, because you know, you need the energy exchange. You need somebody to be there to kind of, that you respect, to be like, yeah, man.
Accountability.
You know? Yeah, absolutely.
We're going to close on this little factoid. There are 428 national parks in the United States, 84 million acres. Go outside.
Go outside and come to Jonathan Dickinson Park. I'm going to just post a simple thumbnail. And, you know, if you're 18 to 60 years old and you can ride a bike, and you have 2 feet, and you got running shoes, pay the $2 entry fee, and we're just going to start riding bikes, man. I'll bring some cold tubs too.
Appreciate you guys and gals.
Appreciate you, buddy.
We're out.
Hum now. Hum later.